go. What's up, everybody? Jeremy, Nelson, thank you guys for joining us. Ben Johnson, all the way from Quebec.
We need to have testimonies that bring people up.
If you need prayer, we want to pray for you. Chris Mathis.
Honor what you're in. It'll always increase.
I'm getting spiritually stirred.
God wants to fill our homes like a tent of meeting. He wants the pillar of fire.
Sickness has to go. The realm of heaven that is being released over every person that is watching. Hey, how's everybody doing here today? This is Samuel Robinson. Welcome to the Voice of Revival broadcast. This is Wednesday. Guys, I got to tell you straight up. Some of you, I know this. You're like, why did you start so late? I just got to come clean. The police got me. I'm just going to say it, Hugh. Just going to say it. The police got me. I was late coming from a meeting from Leduc, and I was on my way. I was driving like Jehu in the chariots, and all of a sudden, you ever been in those zones where you turn around and you're seeing the cherries and berries and you're like, oh no. And so I had a good time of praying in the car. And I got to, you guys, I have the privilege of sowing into my city. But I am here today, and welcome to the Voice of Revival broadcast. Guys, I am so pumped. God is on the move. I just got back from Vancouver, British Columbia, and we just saw God do some amazing things out there. There's so much to talk to you guys about. Get ready. This year, the Lord spoke to me and said, get ready for the unusual. But this really has been a year of unusual miracles, unusual breakthroughs, I believe unusual opportunities. And so with this, I really want you to lock in. I want all of you to share the broadcast. If you have business leaders, church leaders today, I want to encourage you, get them on the broadcast. Our guest that we have, Hugh Marquis, is, to me, I love talking to this gentleman on the phone when we can. And it is fascinating to be able to talk with him, process with him, and just the wisdom and the direction that he has for what I believe is this new season. And if you're on here today, and maybe you're a business owner, you're a church leader. This last week I was talking with many church leaders, processing what does this new season look like after this pandemic? What is this new season going to look like? And many people are looking for answers. And I believe right now, I want to say this right off the bat, is that we need strong leadership in this time. We need vision from heaven. We need the ability to execute in this time, vision. And because I know that we are at a crossroads as a church, I believe, for greater influence, greater impact. But there is such a need. I don't know about you, but sometimes you look at our world leaders like, man, what's going on? Where's the leadership? Where's the clarity? Where is the direction? And I feel like God is raising up leaders. This is why I'm happy today to talk about with Hugh some of the things that maybe some of you are facing in this moment, maybe clear direction, again, how to grow in your leadership. This is where, when God brings certain guests on the broadcast, I get really pumped, and I love all of our guests that come up, but there's something special about today. And so I want to encourage you, please share the broadcast. Let's get the word out there today, because I truly believe with all of my heart, the best is yet to come. Come on, somebody, listen. Maybe you need to put this in the comments today. The best is yet to come. We're moving from glory to glory, from strength to strength. God hasn't just brought you this far to bring you this far, but I believe we are moving from glory to glory, and that we are in a time where God, I believe, is unveiling the greatest plans for your life, but also for the church. And that this is going to be a time where we're going to step into what many people have prophesied. And maybe for some of us, we're looking around being like, how does that even make sense? Like my current scenario definitely doesn't look like my prophetic words. Well, friends, I got a good word for you today. The Bible says his word does not return void, meaning that it doesn't come, it's not just going to go to a place where it won't be fruitful. It doesn't just, it's like, I missed it. That's too bad. No, friends, I believe right now, there's many people on this broadcast that God is going to ignite things on your heart today. He's going to do something in you on this broadcast where you're truly going to believe that God has set you up for success, and having certain individuals on it. And I get inspired. I want to keep saying this, that Hugh is really, he's a premier leader for business leaders, for the church. It's been such a blessing to have him with us because of the aspect of fresh perspective. I think sometimes one of the problems that we have today in our societies is we get caught up into these thought ruts. And I love this, Brian. You said this, today is our Hope Wednesday, and it is. And, this is something that God, I really believe he's doing for the church. He's releasing fresh hope through fresh vision. And for some of us, where we've been lacking clarity, where we've been lacking, the ability to see through the fog of confusion, to actually know where to go, I believe right now in this moment that God is anointing people, their eyes to see, so that they can see through the confusion and they can lead well. Because you're not called just to be a spectator. You're not called to be a victim of circumstance, but you're called to lead and lead well, whether that is your family, whether that is, come on, somebody, whether that's your business, the church that you're in, whatever that is, you are called to lead and to lead well. So with all of this, guys, can you share the broadcast? Let's get that word out there today. Now, like I said, this is a privilege today to really have someone that I've considered a friend, someone that's, man, he's got a great sense of humor. This dude is I just start laughing. And I love it because he challenges me to be the best version of myself. And my prayer is that we would come out of this place today believing that, you know what? Wow, I have more than what I thought. And that I believe maybe for some of us, we've set the bar low and it's time to reset that bar, and to believe that the best truly is yet to come. And so guys, please, can you share the broadcast, and can you welcome with me today a man right now? I know that it originates in Australia, but I think right now he might be in Cambodia. And so can you guys welcome with me my friend Hugh Marquis? Hey, my friend, how are you?
I'm good, Sammy. I love your story about the red and the blue.
Oh, man. Hey, Hugh, can I just say this right now, straight up with you? I love my city, and I joke around. I think I've funded a lot of things in my city. My wife tells me all the time, she's like, "Oh, you just sewed back into Edmonton," which means I got a speeding ticket. Mm-hmm. And this one, though, I told you, this one was tough because there was an exit. Like the cop was coming on my left, and there was that exit to my right. And you know those feelings sometimes where you think you're an action star in a movie, but the truth is it's like no, you're not. And you're not this isn't a movie, this is real life. You can't just take the exit and you're just going to magically get away. And so in that moment, I was ready to turn, being like, maybe I should just, have some fun with this. And then I could hear the good looking voice of the Holy Spirit in my ear, which is my wife. And I could hear the fear of the Lord through her tone being like, "Sammy Robinson, you pull over right now." She wasn't in the car. She didn't need to be. But I could tell you this right now. Her voice was, I pulled over. I had a great conversation with the cop, by the way. I didn't, I had a good conversation. But you know what? I'm here, Hugh. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Hugh, I want to dive in a little bit here with you. Maybe first and foremost, could you give a little introduction about who you are? I know who you are. There's a lot of people on here today that I believe are going to just absolutely love you. And I hope this isn't the only time we get you. I hope we can get you back on a couple times because it's so refreshing, my friend. So why don't you just take it over from here?
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. Thank you so much. As I said, I love your story. And to me, you are a superhero. I've seen you push iron around a bit. So, yeah. But that actually, it's really funny, that thing of getting, taking the exit ramp a bit too early. Yeah. Some of us do that in life. That wow. We take the wrong turn. But look, a little about me. I'm married. I'm married to Jane. We've been married 34 years. We have 3 wonderful children. Come on. And Brianne, Savannah, and Owen. It's hard when you're talking about yourself, though. I've had the privilege of running a whole bunch of businesses. I grew up in hospitality. I went to finance, went to insurance, went into construction, manufacturing, built multi-million-dollar tech companies. For the last 14, 15 years, we've run foundations fighting human trafficking. I've had the privilege of traveling over 108 nations now, of doing things. And I'm one of those crazy people that when God says, do it, we do it. We've got a project in Cambodia that was something he asked us to do, building a forestry project. And we're here now, even though we're not meant to be out of Australia. And, thank you for making me laugh, because I could have fallen asleep a bit earlier. It's 2:00 in the morning right now in Cambodia. But
bro, is coronavirus even awake at 2 a.m. in the morning? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Apparently, you got to be standing up or sitting down, or it's the right time.
Hey, you're in bed. You're okay. No.
So, but the funny thing with all of the travels and the opportunities we've had, where we've dined with leaders of nations and eaten at tables of the poorest of the poor, everywhere I've gone, I've found that every person I've met has a big heart, smart brain, and they're good at least one thing. But they're not the people that we're talking about in leadership, and I don't get it. And you started off, and I agree. I think we have a leadership crisis.
Yeah.
We have a leadership crisis in our churches, in our homes, in our governments, in our businesses, in our schools, in our sporting environments, in our gyms. We have a leadership crisis because today leaders think more about themselves and their social media profile than what they do about the people they're meant to be leading.
Ouch.
And what I've found is that when people talk about leadership now, most of it's motivational and inspirational.
Yeah.
Very little of it is practical, doable tools that you can change your life and someone else's life.
I gotta say, Hugh, we're only 12 minutes in. You're already firing, man. You're locked and loaded. Did you have coffee this morning already at 2 a.m.?
I'm like this now. I stopped drinking coffee probably 12, 13 years ago. I stopped drinking coffee. I used to drink about 30 a day. So can you imagine what I'd be like with that sort of coffee? And I'm like just without it.
Hugh, all I gotta say is that I got 3 girls, 6 and under. I'm like, I feel like I got a coffee IV sometimes. Like, oh God, no. But hey, Hugh, I want to jump in with this, and guys, again, share the broadcast. There's a couple things I want to talk about. I want to talk about this incredible opportunity that you're opening up here, starting up in March this month, and really a little over a week away. So next Wednesday.
Yeah.
And which I believe is fantastic. I want you to talk about that a little bit, about transformational leadership, but also I want to go back into this whole thing with leadership in general, whether it's church, business, because we have a leadership crisis. I think what we're noticing, Hugh, is the struggle maybe over optics. I'd love to talk to you about this, because sometimes when the persona is bigger than the person, I think this is where we start to get in trouble, when we start to create, whether, again, and I'll be honest, I struggle with this too, Hugh. I struggle with, sometimes you build ministry persona, whether you do or you don't, and you struggle with expectations of how to lead or what you should say, what's culturally relevant. And I know it's really easy to say on Facebook, and like, hear me please, because sometimes Facebook warriors are like, you get like 8 different Bible verses and a whole bunch of stuff, but when it comes to actually talking to a real person in front of you, it's a lot. It's different sometimes, where leaders are like, how do I convey this? How do I manage, where we live in the tension right now, where we've got cancel culture. There's so much stuff that's going. And I know it's easy to just say, well, just do whatever, you're called to do. Like I sometimes I hear things and I'm like, I understand what you're like. I understand your heart of like, be bold. But I know that there's leaders today, even on this broadcast, that are processing this next season. So could you talk a little bit about your heart to raise up the leaders with this event, but also to jump into this question about how do we get bold leadership? How do we move in boldness and do it the right way?
So the first thing is, we really need to define what a leader is.
Yeah.
And how I define a leader is this: an organization is where there's 2 or more people, and a leader is when you have influence over at least one other person.
Wow.
So by definition, we're all leaders.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And how do you have bold leadership? See, you would have heard the terms, being in the church, servant leadership, but that's only part of the story. Because, there's 2 areas of leadership. One is command and control, and then the inverse of that is servant leadership. But neither of those models work. And really, it's a combination of those models working together and then building community about it. Because leadership is there so that you have influence up, across, and down. Leadership is influence. So how do you have bold leadership? Like, dictatorships don't work. We know that.
Yeah.
And neither does, just letting people do whatever they want. There has to be boundaries. It has to be done. But what I've found is that people don't know how to handle that. People don't know how to handle conflict. And so they deal with conflict in all the wrong ways. And see, conflict can come out of stress, anger, people talking about other people, can come from a bunch of different areas, can come from our thoughts that we've had or grown up with, or a thing called the hippocampus. So conflict can come from all sorts of areas.
Wow.
But we're not taught in our schools to deal with conflict in a healthy relational manner. And to me, it's in everything we do, it's about relationships. Husband and wife, children, workplace, it doesn't matter. It's about relationship. And so good leadership is how to develop those healthy relationships, which have healthy boundaries, and that allows us to work in an environment of trust together.
Oh, Hugh, this is good. I want to jump into this too about this coming Wednesday. Hugh, if we could bring this up, and friends, we're really right here. I believe that this is an awesome opportunity because of the fact that we need to grow in our leadership. I don't care maybe whether it's a husband and wife together, learning what does it mean to lead. I know, Hugh, for myself, I'm going to be, joining this up next Wednesday with you. Just partly too is like we are in a place where we need to model what does it actually look like to lead, Hugh. And I think when you're talking about definition of leadership, whether that's, you said two people, that could be a husband and wife, that could be parents with their kids. There's so much lack of leadership on a very foundational level. And you don't have to look much further than that to see maybe some of the crises that we're in today, some of the things that are going on. Hugh, can you talk about this opportunity that's coming up periodically? Guys, we're going to talk about this. But Hugh, this next Wednesday, you've got a huge passion of raising up leaders. You've got a huge passion to invest in the midst of and here's the deal. You don't have to do this. This is what I love about you. Like if I was with you, I'd be driving very fast cars with you in Australia right now and pretending we were on a chase here. But you're doing this because I know that you see that if we're going to move forwards, I believe in let's put it this way. We're going to move forwards as a church. I believe we need this redefinition of leadership. We need to model to the next generation how to lead without dysfunction, actually have healthy relationship. Can you talk about what you're starting this next week?
So this next week, we're running a program called TL, Transformational Leadership. It's on how we do leadership. We're running it for 6 weeks. So it's a 2.5 hours each Wednesday night for 6 weeks. Now, because I'm sitting in Cambodia and you're sitting in Canada, we're going to do it online. I have escaped out of Australia. In Australia, we have a thing that we're not allowed to leave our country at the moment, but we won't go into that. I got permission, which was good.
There you go.
So we're running that now. Why do we want to run leadership training like that? Again, a lot of people have done a lot of leadership training, but most of it is inspirational and motivational and very little practical. What we want to give is the practical tools that you can work and use in your organization, whether it be your home, your sporting club, your church, the government, business. It doesn't matter, because the tools we're showing you are life-changing tools, things that we want to give people, and give people a manual and a recipe book for creating significant change in their environment. Now, if you can start changing your environment, you'll start changing. Because, I got some really good or bad news for you, depending which way you look at it. It only takes 3 to 5% of any organization pulling in the same direction to change the culture of that organization. Now, that could be good news or bad news. Right? Could be either one. So, but you get to choose which side you want that on. And so what we're trying to do and what we are doing, and we've run this all around the world in different nations, and it's always fun. It's easier for me doing it in English when you have to have a translator as the way you go. But we've seen significant changes in businesses. We've seen turnovers change. We've seen marriages restored. Like, some of the tools that we will go through is how to eliminate gossip. Like, who has gossip around them? And if you haven't got your hand up, it's probably you.
Come on.
So they're getting rid of gossip out of an organization, because I believe that might be one of the greatest undiagnosed addictions in the world today. Because if we could stop taking offense and stop gossiping, we can change most organizations in 24 hours.
100%.
Right?
Wow.
And so we'll also teach how to do a 6-step apology and why those steps are important. And we've seen that tool restore marriages, build relationships, restore workplace relationships. People that may have left an organization because of ill feeling, they do use and apologize the way we teach, with sincerity and heartfelt. That it changes things. It changes people's lives. We'll talk through the 9 dynamics of change, of what it looks like for change to happen and how people work together on it. It's a whole bunch of stuff that we want to do.
I love this, Hugh, about you guys. I want to encourage you, share the broadcast here. And this is something that we need in our supernatural lifestyle. And Hugh, sometimes we try to monitor change just by the eye test, if I could put it that way. In sports analogy, 20 years ago, they'd be like, well, this player looks really good because I've seen him play. And now, as things have developed in the sports technology world, you now have all these different testings to see, okay, how fast is he? What's this? What's his, his oxygen intake levels, all these things that actually bring measurable results. And I feel like sometimes, Hugh, this is why, talking about apologies, 6 steps, I love some of this stuff because it helps people track that place where it's like, I can grow in this. And I think for some of us, I think my wife is going to tell me, she's going to be like, you need to let's take the 6-step apology course right there. I've learned one of my steps is, honey, I'm sorry. I try to do it more often than not, but it is like, Hugh, I absolutely love this. And again, guys, I want to encourage you, if you know leaders, tag them into this broadcast. But if you want more information as well about this whole thing with transformational leadership, all you need to do is write the word TL in the comment section. Doesn't need to be capitals, just TL in the comments, and you're going to get sent all that information to your Facebook Messenger. If you have some questions, please message Voice of Revival, and we can help you with that as well. But Hugh, I want to jump into some of this. Let's jump in. Let's say, Hugh, let's take the aspect of gossip and offense. Okay, I want to bring this up. This is a big one. I think a lot of people have lost relationships because of gossip. A lot of people have lost. I know I've lost relationships where people have been offended. And so how do we process a little bit of this? Hugh, how do we process gossip? And maybe we've had an issue with this, or this has happened to us, or we've got caught up into it. How would you walk someone through some of these steps? If we could just take just a nutshell, just briefly. I know if you're talking about this just a little bit, this would be great.
Okay. Again, it comes down to definition. So my definition of gossip is when you're talking negatively about somebody else and you're not part of the problem and you're not part of the solution. Right?
So what about if I discern it? No, I'm just joking. joking.
Oh, well, you could discern it, but if you're speaking about somebody and you're not part of the problem or part of the solution, you're still gossiping.
Good word, bro.
I know this never happens on a Tuesday night prayer meeting, but a Tuesday night prayer meeting, seriously, oh, have you heard about such and such? We need to pray for them.
Yeah.
Really? That's gossiping. Right? Let's bring it down to that. And gossip can happen from people will take offense from gossip, but that's because we don't know how to deal with conflict. Because we haven't got if I upset you and you go and tell somebody else or somebody overheard it, that's gossip unless they're part of the solution. But if I've done something to you and it's upset you we need to have the tools that we can deal with it so we don't get to gossip.
Wow.
Now, people who know me know that I won't gossip about them, right?
Yeah.
If somebody comes and throws up with something negative about somebody else, I'll say to them, listen, if somebody said that about you, Sammy, I'd go, well, I know Sammy. How about we ring him right now? And why don't you have this discussion with him?
Yeah.
Right? If we want to talk about, there are things and processes that we have training for on what to do, how to deal with people, how to approach others when they've caused you offense. And look, as long as you're in relationship, there is going to be conflict.
Wow.
But conflict's not bad. Unresolved conflict is bad.
Wow.
Because conflict plus resolution builds intimacy.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just we've forgotten the tools of how to do that and what to do with our lives to make those a force for good.
And I love that, Hugh, because I know for myself, processing, with my wife, and it's one of those things where it's tough because you're like the conflict, and sometimes I don't know about you, but I know for me I get emotional, so I'm like and I'm like this is what's going on, but I find we've had this in Christian terms we call it we've had the discussion. It's really it's an argument, fight, whatever you want to call it, but I find that when we come back and we process through, well, this is what I felt. Well, this is what I find for us, our level of relationship and intimacy gets deeper. And there's even more levels of trust. I know for myself being like, oh my goodness, even in the place of weakness, my wife still covered me in the place of I shared. And this is where, if I could say, maybe ask you another question, Hugh, on this, because this is big. How does somebody process, when people have spoken negative against them, and whether there's been gossip against maybe themselves, it's very easy to say, well, just forgive them, and I get that. That's it's what we're called to do. But so often that the words of people can feel like it sticks. I don't know if that makes sense, but it almost feels like it sticks on you, Hugh, and like you want to just forgive, but it's almost like it keeps trying to come back up. And I think sometimes even some people that are on this broadcast where I've seen where people are like, man, I family members are talking negative against me, and this is what's going on. And sometimes it's hard to be able to, okay, forgive, but how do I let that go? How do I move on from there? Could you bring some wisdom and some insight into that?
One of the key things around that, there's an old statement: sticks and stones may break my bones. Now, what's the rest of it?
Yeah, but names will
never hurt.
Yeah,
wrong. Sticks and stones may only break your bones, but names can cause death or life.
Wow, it's good.
Right?
That's good.
And the words that come out of our mouth are crucial. They can bring life to a situation, or they can bring death to a situation.
Yeah.
But we choose the words that come out of our mouth.
Yeah.
So we choose on how we're going to speak about things. But if somebody has offended you, has gossiped about you, the way to approach them, we're talking on a voice of revival. We are taught very, very well in Matthew 18 how to do this.
Yeah.
Matthew 18, it goes back at the start and it says, if your arm causes you to sin, chop it off. If your eye causes you to sin, pull it out and poke it out. Then it gets to the 99. What it's talking about is, guys, have you looked at yourself first of all? Have you addressed things in your own life first before you go and point out anybody else's problems? But then it says, if somebody says something against you, go to them one-on-one.
Yeah.
Go to them one-on-one and deal with it there. Most of us don't do that because we haven't got the tools and we don't know how to approach others. But when somebody has gossiped, so let's say you had gossiped about me. Now, you wouldn't have done that, Sammy. I know you better than that.
Yeah.
But if you had, and it came where me, I'd approach you and say, Sammy, may I share something with you? Yeah, sure. I heard that you made this statement about me. That causes me offense.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to talk about it.
Wow.
So I'm okay to bring up a conversation. I'm okay to deal with conflict because I've learned to become a peacemaker,
It's
not
awesome.
a peacekeeper.
That
Right? And so I'll deal with it one-on-one. And then they get, at that point, they can either say that didn't happen and there's other resolution steps, or they're going to apologize and say, wow, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Now, as soon as they say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, I'm going to respond, well, I forgive you.
it's awesome.
There's a little thing, there's a little nugget at the end of the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6. Because you know how we read the Lord's Prayer and then it goes, for thine is the kingdom, power and glory forever and ever, amen.
Yeah.
Those words weren't actually in the Bible. They were added in 317 AD.
Wow.
But I think those things, Constantinople put those in there. I think those hide a very big truth, because you read the next two verses and it says, for as much as you forgive others, Father in heaven will forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, your Father in heaven will not forgive you. But we don't read those verses because we've got an amen statement. So we close the Bible, we've done the Lord's Prayer.
That's good. It's good.
Right? And that place of forgiveness is a gift.
Wow.
If we can get to a place of forgiveness, true forgiveness, and show unconditional forgiveness to others, it is a gift that we're giving to them. Because when you can teach people how to forgive and what they've got to let go of, they can be blessed by God.
That's awesome.
But if you're wearing and holding forgiveness as this banner, I'm going to hold unforgiveness, and yeah. So
And I question here on this, and those that are watching too. If you guys, if you're okay with this, Hugh, I actually should have asked you this beforehand, but I can tell people are processing on the comments, and if you guys have questions,
I can't see those.
Okay, no. Okay, so guys, if you do have questions, regarding some of this, because I think it's big. Again, we are taught to forgive, but sometimes not the how to. And this is such a, Hugh, I believe real relationship. I look at with my kids, when they ask me about whether it's, I want to ride a bike. And so I don't just sit them on the bike and just be like, okay, you go for it. I actually help teach them process. And I think sometimes we skip, if I could say this, we skip steps in the body of Christ where we tell people to do certain things, but we actually don't teach them the process of how to do it. And so this is what I love with what you're talking about, because it helps bring closure. I feel like forgiveness done the right way, it brings closure to offense. And I feel like there's those maybe on here today, you need to re-listen to this again, because I believe it's going to help some of you with your relationships. And please, again, join next week. Next Wednesday Hugh is starting a once a week Zoom Transformational Leadership. Guys, I believe in this with all of my, I'm telling you, this is something that we desperately need in the world today, in the church today, is solid leaders. And Hugh is taking time out of his schedule to do this. And so I want to encourage you, if you want more information about that, write the word, just the two letters TL in the comment section. And here's another one for you, Hugh. I know some people have asked this to me in the past, is that it's the element of confrontation. How do we handle confrontation, Hugh? I know for myself, I'm not always the biggest confrontational fan. I know some people don't mind a fight, but how do we actually handle the areas of confrontation and those areas where it's like, okay, maybe you're processing. I know for me, I'm like, I want to make sure I get my point across. I don't want to hurt the person that I'm with. Sometimes I know for my personality can be very strong. And so I have to be careful. I don't overdo it. How do we manage this, and how do we actually process? Sometimes when confrontation isn't a big thing, isn't as talked about as much, it's a lot easier sometimes to write someone off than it is to be able to confront. I don't know if you could talk a little bit more on this, but I think this is awesome.
It's funny because when confrontation or conflict, same thing happens, there are a group of people. There's different ways of handling it. You've got the screamer if there's conflict, and we've all seen the screamer. You've got the sulker. What's wrong? Nothing. They're moping around and they're sad and they're walking around. You've got the denier. What's happening? Nothing's wrong. No, really, something's gone wrong. Nothing's wrong. Nothing, the denier. You've got the litigator. I'm right. You're wrong.
Wow.
And they will do all of that. Then you've got a peacekeeper. Now, a peacekeeper, they'll brush conflict or confrontation under the carpet just to keep the peace. But in all of those things, it's not a healthy way to deal with conflict. So becoming that peacemaker. Now, Jesus was a peacemaker, right?
Wow.
Jesus dealt with conflict, but he dealt with it in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
Don't deal with conflict when you're angry.
Yeah. I've learned that.
I used to be a really angry man. Right? But see, the greatest, I think the greatest teacher of that is life.
Yeah.
Because, when you've got your kids, and I don't know about you, Sammy, but me, when I was bringing up my kids, I yelled at my kids at times. I got upset with them and was going, "You have made me so angry." I've actually said that to my wife as well. But, with my kids, I'm going, "You've made me angry." And then I think back of it now, and I'm going, "Well, actually, no. I chose to be angry. What they did whatever they did, but I chose to respond in a certain manner."
Yeah.
But because I let them do what they did, control me.
Yeah.
My kids ended up growing up and owning the house. But no. Well, if you think about it, that's what's happened. So in dealing with conflict, it's the healthy way to deal with it. So how do you address somebody? Well, the first step is you go in humility. Admit that you might be the one that's wrong, because we all filter through our own lenses, through our own upbringing, through our own attitude on the day. We filter this stuff. So my first step for dealing with conflict is you approach the other person with humility, knowing that you might be the one with the log in your eye.
Yeah.
And so humility, first of all. The second thing is unconditional love.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, pre-forgiveness. So you've already forgiven them in your heart, because forgiveness is a heart attitude.
Yeah.
So you've said, "I'm not going to hold this against you. I'm going to work through this, and I'm going to think good thoughts about you. I'm going to have pre-forgiven you so that when I'm going in, I'm not angry." And love. So unconditional love. You're going to show them unconditional love in this. And the last one, 100% truth and 100% facts.
Wow.
Because if you've got to go, you go in the conversation, and don't take little pieces of a conversation. Yeah. Take the whole lot in and work through it from there. So I've found they're the keys in dealing with conflict in anything that we do.
Guys, I want to say this. We have a couple more minutes, if that's okay, Hugh, with you. There's another question. Guys, and again, please share this broadcast. This is so good. If you want more information regarding the opportunity to be a part of Hugh's Transformational Leadership group that starts next Wednesday, literally a week away, write the word TL in the comment section. But I want to bring up a question here, because this is really good. Jenny put this up. She said, "How would you deal with family member or members who don't accept responsibility for the wrongdoings?" Sometimes, Hugh, I think, I have a funny story about this, Hugh. I have 3 little girls, 7 and under. And when you're talking about, anger, for me, sometimes the frustration, how I know my kid doesn't want to accept, there's times where she doesn't want to accept that she's wrong. And then you're like, "You grabbed that cookie," and then she puts it behind her back. She's like, "No, I didn't." And you're like, "No, you grabbed that cookie," and she's like, "No, I didn't." And you're like, "Man, this is not a Roadrunner TV show here, kid. Like what's behind your hands?" And I feel sometimes, especially around the areas of family, Hugh, this can hit home. This can be hard. But what would you say to someone that's dealing with family members who don't accept responsibility for their wrongdoings? And, again, because it's family and some, a situation like this, what would you say?
Family is one of those interesting things. We all have them, and sometimes they're great and sometimes they're not so good. Yeah. Right? So let's take it from that point. Again, the same thing applies. So let's say it was a teenager. I'm just trying to draw an example of a situation you could deal with. Right? And let's say that teenager was my son, and his name was David. Now, I don't have a son called David, and David had done something wrong. And I would approach him like this: "Hey, David, can I share something with you?" So I might be wrong, and it might be the lens that I'm viewing this through. But just in case I'm not wrong, would you consider something?
Oh.
When you're behaving this way, you hurt your mum, or you haven't cleaned up your room, but when you do that, you're showing disrespect to your mum.
Wow.
Oh, I don't really care. Well, that's an interesting thing. You don't care about respecting your mum. Well, can we have a conversation about what it is that's taking you down that path? Because what I'm trying to do is put the circuit breaker in, but saying, I could be the one who's wrong.
Wow.
Right. So, and when we do the sessions over those 6 weeks, we'll be doing real life examples and working through. We want people to bring some of their biggest challenges so we can deal with things like that and give people the tools. Did that answer the question for Jenny?
Yeah, I like Jenny. Please let us know too. And she was saying she was referring to her father in this situation. It must as well. I know she just put in TL in the comments as well here. But I want to say this to those that are watching, listening today. There is such a value in learning about leadership. I think we put such value on. Again, I do this, with gifts of the Spirit, moving in the anointing, all these kind of things, and I think sometimes part of the reason why we don't have the momentum or the breakthrough that we're looking for, Hugh, I'll just be honest, is that people aren't necessarily always taught how to lead, and this is, you know what I mean? Like people are taught, can be taught sometimes, okay, let's get into, reading your Bible, hearing from the Lord, and but sometimes when it comes to leadership and actually teaching people how to be a leader, and maybe I can end with this question, Hugh, is that I think for many people, when we say leadership, there's sometimes that thought of like, well, am I really a leader? Like, am I really, is this something that I could actually do? And I find sometimes with leadership, it can also be attached to self-worth, self-identity.
Absolutely.
And how do we start to, like, maybe for those today that wonder and they question, like, can I actually do this? Would God actually entrust me with people to lead? And I feel like, Hugh, is there something that you could speak into this moment for those that are here? Because I feel like there's many that want to take the jump. And guys, I want to encourage you, please, like, prayerfully consider and join this group, because the fact that I know every time I'm with you, I always feel encouraged. I'm asking you quite. I sometimes I'm like, my goodness, you're the kind of person where, for me, I love being able to share stuff because you always bring fresh perspectives to a situation, and I love that about you. I feel like God has given you this unique ability, and you've crafted this too. You've put time into this. But for those today that maybe they wonder, like, could God actually use me as a leader? Maybe if you could just speak into this, and then guys, if you want more information on Hugh's Transformational Leadership, if you're just joining us, write the word TL in the comments, and you'll get all the information. But take it over from here, my friend.
Yeah. Remember, if you go back to the definition of a leader, that an organization is where there's at least two people.
Two people, yes.
And a leader is when you have influence over at least one other person. That makes you a leader. It makes all of us a leader, because as long as there's other people around us, all of our behaviors, all of our actions, we're leading someone. And at times we might only be leading ourselves.
Wow.
But we will be leading someone.
Yeah. So
having the tools, I agree with you. I don't think we've done a great job of it. Like we've had, I love the local church, but we've had stuff happen in local churches. We've had stuff happen in governments. We've had stuff happen all around the place where leadership and good leadership could have made circumstances a whole bunch better. But can anybody be a leader? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's ask a different way as well. Would you like to have better relationships? Would you like to be the sort of person that people are attracted to? Would you like to be the person that others say, I want to be like them?
Mm-hmm.
And, as part of some of the things that we do is we define the qualities of a leader as well. We'll define and go through all of those things. But being a leader isn't this pinnacle. We look at,
Yeah.
Even some of our sportsmen, and we call them leaders. And then you look at how they live their lives outside the sporting arena and you go, oh, I actually don't want my kids following them. I want my kids, my family, to look up to people and say, wow, they're leading their family well.
Yeah.
They're doing these things. So I think everybody can grow in leadership. A good leader never stops learning.
Come on.
I've learned a lot of stuff. We had a company with a couple of hundred staff, and I learned by making mistakes along the way.
Wow.
I don't want people to make those same mistakes. I hurt a lot of people along the way. As I said, I was really angry because I was stressed and I had all sorts of stuff, and I had an anger issue. And what I've found as we travel around the world is most people do. You ask the question, do you get angry and wish you didn't? Everybody's going to put their hand up.
Absolutely.
Well, we teach people how to deal with that.
It's awesome.
And I still use those tools today in everything that I do. So can everybody lead? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love this, Hugh. I love this because is that for those that are here today, on this broadcast, are going to watch the rebroadcast. There's something that happens when you do receive the practical tools of how to do it. Like you were saying from the beginning, it's not just inspirational; it's very practical. And I know in this season, God is raising up, I really believe, better leaders. My prayer is that, Paul said it. There's many that can teach, but there's few fathers. I think you could take that word father. If you wanted to, you could probably put in that word leader as well, because true fathers lead. And I feel that those that are on this broadcast, I want to encourage you, if you want more information about Hugh's Transformational Leadership, he starts next Wednesday. That's a week away. That is March the 24th. Just write the word TL in the comment section, and you'll get all the information that you need. And so, Hugh, thank you, my friend. I don't know if you
can I have one little thing, just saying that there, and you'll probably tell me off that the transformational leadership does have a cost. However, I'd also like to just say to people that if finances are a difficulty, let us know, because I don't want anybody to ever miss out on this training because of finances. If finances are a difficulty, let us know, and we can organize tickets and stuff for that.
Hey, man, Hugh. We so appreciate that, guys. Again, please let us know. I don't know. I know the link sends you to an Eventbrite page with all the information, but please let me know, you guys as well, with costs, and Hugh, we'll sort that out together. Again, Hugh, thank you for being with us, and thank you for taking the time, and just it's 2 a.m. your time. I can't even believe you're functional, my friend. I absolutely love it. But guys, thank you so much. Can you just show your appreciation to Hugh? Hugh, I'm going to put you in our green room. And I'll come back to you right after here. But guys, thank you for taking this time. And I know, wow, some of you need to go over this again. And this was so good. Like, I mean, just refreshing. And please, guys, know tomorrow we're going to be at it again, and we're going to be going. I want to encourage you, those that that you need a miracle in your body. Those that, you're looking for encouragement tomorrow, we're going to be taking the majority of the time tomorrow and moving into ministry. I just felt that. And so please join us. And so, guys, thank you again for being with us. It's always a pleasure. And make sure you check out Hugh's Transformational Leadership. Starts next Wednesday, March the 24th. Just write the letters TL in the comment section. So, guys, be blessed. Thank you so much for your time. And remember, you are a voice of revival, and that voice matters. Okay? So we will talk to you tomorrow. God bless.